So the welfare effects of the subsidy. Okay, this can get a bit tricky here because we're trying to say, we're trying to figure out how much is actually being paid and who is it going to. So when we've got a subsidy, put the subsidy on the product that shifts the supply curve down, like we said before. What this means is we've got a new equilibrium price and quantity. Quantity is here now at Q2. And we've got to identify what's basically happening here. Is that the consumers are paying a lower price, where the demand curve meets the new supply curve. But the suppliers, because they sell to the consumers at this price, and then they get this added on to their, added on to their revenues by the government, the suppliers are essentially getting this price here. This is why it's going to get tricky, because we need to work out now sort of where the new producer and consumer surpluses are. The consumer surplus is everything below the demand curve above the price which consumers pay. So as you can see, PC, above that but below the demand curve, is going to be this new area of consumer surplus or consumer welfare. The producer surplus is going to be everything above the supply curve but below the price which the suppliers receive. And so therefore this new higher price, PS, and above the supply curve is going to be the new producer surplus. So what's actually happening here? Well, what we can say is that the government pays for the size of the subsidy A, B, C, D. This is the overall size of the subsidy. You can think about that because the government is basically paying this amount here per product sold, and they're selling this number of products. So it's really just multiplication. However much that difference is times this many, it's actually not that many products, it's actually 0 to Q2 products that they're selling. So that whole rectangle there is actually paid for by the government. Who is actually getting this subsidy? Well, as you can see, some of the subsidy goes to consumers and producers. This area here is sort of a bit of doubled up consumer and producer surplus. Some of it used to be consumer surplus, now it's consumer and producer surplus. Some of it used to be only producer surplus, now it is producer and consumer surplus. So some of this area here from this rectangle is actually paid to both of them simultaneously. A bit weird. Some of it is going to be new consumer surplus. This new consumer surplus is this bit here, this blue bit there. Some is going to go directly to producers because some of it is going to be new producer surplus, which is going to be this area here. Some of it, however, is simply wasted, and that's going to be this green triangle here. Some of the subsidy is wasted, it is inefficient, and the subsidy is inefficient in the same way that taxes are inefficient, because what we've done now is the government is paying for this area here. Part of this government revenue is going out, but nobody's actually, no producers or consumers are actually claiming that bit of welfare there because it's not included in the new consumer or producer surpluses. Another way to think about it is to say that with the original supply curve, this is the marginal cost of producing the product here. These consumers are buying the product there, and the difference is basically the marginal cost through all of these points is higher than the marginal benefit, which again would mean that it's therefore not allocatively efficient. Therefore it is not efficient. And so that is the analysis of subsidy. Thanks.